Meanwhile, Iran has warned Israel of harsh consequences if the bombing of the Gaza Strip continues. Iran's foreign minister has said, and I'm quoting, if this war is not stopped immediately and the joint attacks against civilians, the women and children of Gaza by America and Israel are not halted, then the consequences of those who are waging this war will be grave. WION's principal diplomatic correspondent Siddhant Sibal caught up with Iran's ambassador to India to understand the country's stand on the war. Here's an excerpt from that conversation.
The situation in West Asia is concerning everyone in the world. With me is Iran's ambassador to talk about the ongoing situation. So welcome to WION. My first question to you is, what is Iran's policy, Iran's assessment regarding the situation in West Asia?
The Zionist regime is targeting people, hospital, schools, and no points of Palestine, Gaza Strip is safe. So we're now witnessing a catastrophe, a massacre in the region. Hamas is trying to defend its motherland. Unfortunately, they are calling Hamas a terrorist group. Hamas is not a terrorist group. Palestinians are not terrorists. They are defending themselves. They are defending families. They are defending their motherland. They are a resistance group. They are resistance. So they call Hamas terrorists to justify their atrocities against the people of Palestine. After these days, even Hamas declared that it's ready to stop or ceasefire. Still, ceaselessly, Israel is continue targeting innocent people in the region. So we believe that this conflict, the conflict of Palestine, the case of Palestine should be solved by referring to the vote of people of Palestine. It doesn't make any difference whether they are Muslim, they are Jews, they are Christians.
So, do you expect the region to be engulfed in wider crisis now? Now we have heard reports of even Houthis joining the conflict. So what's your assessment over the next phase, perhaps, in the ongoing situation in the West Asian region? Do you see more countries getting involved?
We hope not. We hope not. But, we hope that the atrocities of Zionist regime will stop. The crimes of Israel has made people, not only Muslim, but all over the world, have made them angry. Nowadays, you are witnessing demonstration all over the world: Australia, USA, UK, European countries, Arab countries, Muslim countries, and non-Muslim countries. So, Palestinian case issue is not just an Islamic issue. Sometimes the European countries try to nominate it as an Arabic issue. But it is not an Arabic issue, it is not an Islamic issue, it is an issue of humanity.
Thank you so much, sir, for speaking to me.
Thank you for this opportunity, and I express my gratitude to the people of India through your camera.
Are you a dog person or a cat person, or neither? One reason for choosing a side could be when you ask the so-called dog people about their reasons for choosing dogs over cats. One of them may be that cats seem to be less emotional as compared to dogs. But while everyone knows that a cat has 9 lives, as they say, did you know that a cat has 276 different facial expressions? Cats express their emotions using their whole bodies. And while you might fidget or tap your toe when you are nervous, cats manifest their emotions quite differently. A cat's body language may include the engagement of their ears, eyes, their mouths, muzzle, tail, whiskers. According to a new study by researchers, at UCLA, in fact, cats have over 276 different facial expressions. And some of these cat expressions, in fact, are also seen in human beings and may have picked them up from their human being partners. 10,000-year-old history of living with us, after all. While majority of the cat's expressions in the study were either distinctly friendly or aggressive, about 18% were ambiguous and fell into both categories. But what exactly are cats conveying through these expressions? Researchers, while conducting the study, found some overall patterns. For instance, researchers saying that the cats moved their ears and whiskers towards another feline during friendly interactions and tend to move them away from others during unfriendly interactions. And what's intriguing is that apart from human beings, some of the cat's friendly expressions resemble those of dogs, monkeys, and other animals, hinting at the possibility of a shared play face across species. So just like humans, cats are individuals with unique personalities of their own. Some cats are more openly expressive than others, while some are more nervous and guarded. And not every relaxed cat will blink slowly. Not every scared cat will tilt its head. Cat parents like to think that they know their cats, and many do. But every cat parent sometimes wonders what's going on behind those big cat eyes. And the more you look for the subtle cues on the cat's face, the better you may be able to understand their unique personality. And of course, if you are looking for clues about your cat's facial expressions and what they might mean, ask the experts. Your veterinarian or an animal behaviorist might be able to help you decode what your beloved feline is trying to say or not say. Should governments kill the old people to save the young? Here's the scenario: a sudden pandemic, crisis escalating into a national crisis, and suddenly the world is trapped in a plague. Scientists are working furiously to find a remedy, a medicine. What does a government do? Well, be sure to not ask Boris Johnson. The former Prime Minister of Britain took a decision. Let the old die. The Wuhan virus, he said, was nature's way of dealing with the old. Of course, with the one exception, that's himself. Johnson himself is 59 years old and was 3 years younger when COVID-19 scared the world to death. Not all that young then, I'm sure you will agree with me. He got COVID-19 and was near death, but the country's best medical resources were wheeled to save his life. And when it came to helping others of his age and older, Boris Johnson decided to walk down the path of ageism. He thought the Wuhan virus was nature's way of dealing with old people. Let me say that again. COVID-19 being nature's way of dealing with old people. Can you believe that? In other words, if the old fall sick, let them. If they die, let them. The Conservative Party's chief whip, Mark Spencer, reportedly agreed. He suggested that the government should let the old people get COVID-19 and protect others. And how do we know this? Meet Sir Patrick Vallance. He served as the British government's chief scientific advisor between April 2018 and April 2023. He was in office when COVID-19 struck. Sir Patrick detailed his frustration of dealing with the Johnson government during the pandemic in his diary. And in one of the diary entries, Sir Patrick Vallance wrote that Johnson was, quote-unquote, obsessed with older people accepting their fate and letting the young get on with life and economy going. And things did not go as Johnson had desired. Johnson himself came down with COVID-19. The UK had one of the highest COVID-19 death tolls in the world. And today, Johnson and his cabinet are facing a COVID-19 inquiry. Grim and disturbing details are coming out of that probe, and Johnson is receiving a lot of flack for his comments. There is no doubt that Johnson's statements are problematic. But he and his chief whip would not be the first ones to propose that the old sacrifice or be sacrificed for the sake of the young. How many of you recognize this man? He is Dan Patrick, the Lieutenant Governor of Texas. In March 2020, he gave a very interesting interview to Fox News. Patrick suggested that grandparents and senior citizens should be willing to die from the Wuhan virus for the sake of the young, for the sake of the economy. Let me read out an excerpt from that interview. Patrick asks, and I'm quoting, "As a senior citizen, are you willing to take a chance on your survival in exchange for keeping the America that all America loves for your children and grandchildren? And if that is the exchange, I'm all in," quote unquote. And this again was in the middle of the pandemic. COVID-19 surely exposed the indifference, the heartless indifference towards the elderly. It is fair to say right away that this was not how most countries and their leaders reacted during the crisis. For India and for most other countries, every life was equally precious. The dilemma is, to use an expression, age-old. How many of you have read Christopher Buckley's Boomsday? It's a satirical novel, and in it, baby boomers, as in those born between 1948 and 1964, are paid cash up front if they commit to being killed when they reach the age of 75. Why? Healthcare is not free. I mean, it may be free for you if you are a taxpayer in a first world country, but medicine and medical procedures cost money, and that money is borne by you if you go to a private healthcare facility. If you choose a government one, like in the case of the UK, the NHS, then the government pays your medical bill. And where does the government get that money from? The taxes. Taxes that the working population pays, taxes that employees pay. But here's the thing, people are not employed all their life. They start working between the age of, say, 20 to 25, and they retire at 65, approximately. And what happens after that? This age group becomes a liability for the government. The government pays their pension, spends on their healthcare. And as people age, the cost of their healthcare increases as well. They need special care. They need caregiving. In other words, they become a public cost, just to put this out bluntly. In countries like Japan, where over 28% of the population is over the age of 50, or Italy, where the number is 22%, this is a huge problem. And here the number of people drawing pensions is slowly catching up to the number of people paying taxes. It is an economic disaster in the making. But does the solution to this problem lie in killing the old? Surely more prime ministers than Johnson would have thought about it when sitting through a briefing on the state of the economy. In Finland, 21% of its population is above the age of 65. Same as Portugal, Greece, Germany, Bulgaria. But killing the old cannot be the solution here. We humans are not barbaric. At least that is what we would like to believe. So, Boris Johnson and company, next time you are faced with a similar problem, think of intelligent and sustainable ideas. Think person reform, encourage silver economy, modernize insurance systems. We will leave the dear British leaders with a thought from Mahatma Gandhi. The true measure of any society can be found in how it treats its most vulnerable members. When the virus from China struck, Great Britain's value system collapsed.